some says that they'll be dangerous for the radiation. But basically, this is part of radio frequency. Radio frequency in the EMF spectrum is the lower band. Even we are talking about, it doesn't have enough energy to cause anything ionization to happen, for example, because it categorized under non-ionizing. Even if you can see the visible light, sunlight, even higher, much higher. So it can cause something that even this is a radio frequency. It doesn't have enough energy that can cause some ionization to happen.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Startups.Zone Talk. Today the topic will be 5G, and we are very, very honored and proud to have the leading expert in Malaysia, YB Professor Dr. Tharek Abd Rahman. Professor, thank you very much for coming here and for your time above all. Thank you very much. Professor Tharek is in the commission member of MCMC. And also still professor teaching at the University Technology Malaysia, PhD in mobile communications, and as I mentioned, you had the leading role in establishing the first 5G initiative in Malaysia. Please, I will give you the word to introduce yourself, how you become a professor, what motivated you to become a professor, and how was your journey into the 5G?
Okay, thank you. So actually, I just start from myself, where I came from state in Perlis. I was born in Perlis, and I have my primary school and also secondary school in Perlis. So actually, my first degree is from University of Glasgow in UK, and my master in University of Manchester. And my PhD is in the University of Bristol. So as mentioned, I did my PhD in the area of mobile communications. So I joined the university in the early 1980s as a lecturer, and then from there, as a lecturer, has to be what you call involved in the research, teaching, and also publish paper, supervise student. And since my area is in mobile communications, this is where they got me to look into this. At that time, it's still the first generation, and then slowly moved to second generation in 1990s, and year 2000 in the third generation, fourth generation 2010, and coming is 2020 is supposed to be the next generation,
the
fifth
5G
generation. That's right.
Okay, interesting. So you spent a lot of time in UK also for your studies.
For most of my degrees are in UK. And what motivated me to become a professor, because as a lecturer, you have to do a research, publish paper, supervise student, and the area that I've chosen because it's since I am involved in the research on mobile communication, so I will continue that. And it's happened that after that it moved from first, second, third, and now moving to a fifth generation.
That's very interesting. I think you see also the journey of the mobile phones then in the schools or the university for yourself, but also the students, how they used it previously, how they use it today. Right. Interesting, very interesting. So let's dig a little bit into 5G, and I would like you to give an overview of 5G, what it is, what we're talking about, because it seems to be a big hype nowadays. Everyone talks about 5G. We can see it everywhere, we can hear it everywhere. Maybe you can explain to the audience very simple terms, what are we talking 5G about?
Before I move to 5G, let me take from the first generation, where when you're talking about mobile communication, we have a cellular system, where that time is analog system, it's only for voice. We move to the second generation, we can have voice and also low data rate, but even the speed is lower, we can send messages only, and then and so on. But when you come to the next generation with the 3G, this is where the broadband starts. 3G, where you're talking about you can access internet at higher speed with 2 megabit per second, even more than that. And further to 4G that's coming after that, where it enhance further the mobile broadband to get this. At that time, we are talking about connecting peoples, where we have the speed and so on. But when it comes to 5G, I think 5G considerably different. When we're moving from 4G to 5G, where the vision set by the standard body like ITU, International Telecommunication Unions, they are looking more not just as a mobile broadband, increasing the speed, but they are talking about other things. For example, with low latencies, message machine type communication, incorporating the vision of 5G, make it possible to have other use cases or other application. It's possible, which cannot be used by 4G. I mean, that's why when we're looking into 5G, we are looking into enhance the broadband further. That is what we call the evolution from what the 4G have. But we can say also it become a revolution as well, because it comes to new thing, meaning that you are talking about low latency, ultra reliable latency. The latency, which means like a real time, where you can have new use cases. Example, we can have the autonomous car. It's possible where 4G is not possible with that. And we can also have some sort of the remote surgery, for example. And even 5G, since the data rate can be increased, you transmit 4K, 8K, where it's very important for telemedicine. You don't have to be like healthcare, for example. We can have a remote diagnosis. The telemedicine can be used for that purpose. So this can open more opportunity, business case, for example. And then they have another things that they are talking about, message machine type communication. We know already IoT now, things. Before we are talking about connecting peoples. Now we are talking about peoples and things. With IoT, for example, now when 5G come in, it's become part of the standard. You are incorporating, for example, artificial intelligence into that as well. And what's the talking about in future, because of the massive machine type communication, you can have like looking into a million of devices per kilometer square. And also the automation in the in the factory and all those things. So it is become from horizontal to verticals. They open, not talking about just broadband but you are talking about new business case, new application is possible with this. So this why.
So you mentioned the speed, of course, is faster, the latency lower, and then also like the connectivity in itself, right? That you can have many more devices connecting.
That's right.
And when you mention like IoT specifically and like objects or devices being connected, you mean more like the density, like the number of devices per area?
That's right. So one of the things that they are looking at focusing is the IoT. That's why they call massive machine type communication, meaning that they are targeting whether it's about per kilometer square, as mentioned, it's about million of devices. So the massive connectivity where all things around us are connected. And that is make it important. And at the moment, we can see that 3G, 4G, the standard basically based on broadband side. But because IoT is when the 5G come in, IoT is part of the standard. Even we have MBIoT at currently, but future see of massive things connected, machines, everything are all become.
You mentioned the remote or telemedicine, remote medicine, right?
Yes.
Like I saw a use case that one doctor sitting in New York and doing surgery on a patient maybe here in Malaysia. Is that something
two things
realistic?
here. First thing you're talking about, since can support very high definition, 4K, 8K. So the doctor you can have a remote diagnosis, telemedicine. Another thing very important is the latency, because 4G latency is not enough to provide the real time. Where I think the remote surgery is possible. Doctor can be anywhere in the cloud and then the robot will be operating, because 1 millisecond latency means when you move the hands forward like this, it's instantaneously the same.
It's really
it's
real
no
time,
lagging,
right? Yeah.
near real time. It's really like a real time.
Yeah,
that's why.
Because in surgery you cannot be like
a little bit
not
behind
have
as
you
that's
cut
right.
the wrong things
That's
maybe.
Right. Sometimes very critical. For example, a patient need to be do some operation or something that require very urgently, and the specialist is not there, and the specialist can be anywhere, and that's one thing. Second thing, since it can support very high resolution 4K 8K, because even the scanning of a patient in the hospital, in the some remote area or in the clinic, where then this can be what you call diagnosed by the specialist in somewhere in some other places, and give an advice what should be done and all those things. So it's very important for that.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, thanks for sharing. Now you mentioned some use cases already, also the autonomous car, which are quite interesting. So far I hear a lot of business use cases. But the hype that I also hear is around the customer and users, like the 5G phones. You can already buy 5G phones, and it's hype. Is this really like something? I could not get the value yet. This week I was at the Malaysia Tech Week, and the CEO of the Time.com, he said 5G for consumers just like it's like a scam, something like that. Nothing that really offers additional benefit or value. Would you agree with that? Is 5G phone something something interesting for the moment?
At the moment, as you know, the standardization is going, but in the process of standardization, because it's based on what you call 3GPP standard, it's part of the standard that will be used for 5G. We have release 15, it's already matured, and then the incoming one, it will be release 16, maybe by the end of this year. Release 15 basically on the enhanced mobile broadband. This is possible already. But the only thing about the phones at the moment, of course, is you need a network. You need to be a roll-off 5G first before you can talk about the phone. But most of the countries now, they are just start launching the 5G, like in US, Korea, Japan, and some in Europe, like UK, and they are already. And from there, they have some phones that were available. The phones for 5G at the moment, of course, it will be very costly. But future, because of the mass production, the price will be going down. And it's just like what you have the smartphone nowadays. The only difference is that now we have 2G, 3G, 4G in the phone. When we are using here with a 4G available, then you can experience the speed that 4G can provide. But when you move out, for example, there is no 4G coverage, it fall back to the 3G or even in the 2G. But a similar thing will happen. That's why we call revolution. When the 5G comes in, the phone will be already there, but that phone can support all those generation.
The older generation.
The only advantage that if you have the 5G within this area, then you can have advantage, because you can have other use cases that can be used. But this for sure. That's why the standardization is important. It becomes mass production, the cost will be going down.
I understand that. Very interesting. So let's move the topic to Malaysia, focused here. What is the status here in Malaysia? I know there are some pilots running, and I see now a lot of events also coming. Maybe you can give us the overview where Malaysia is. What is the current status in Malaysia for 5G, please?
Because when you are talking about 5G, one thing is important to have the spectrum available to be used for the initial spectrum requirement. So to look into this and also other things, regulatory aspect, infrastructure aspect, the Ministry of Communication have proposed to set up a task force that will be coordinated by the MCMC. So it was formed last year, I think October last year, and then from the November they has formed up this committee, the task force, where task force consists of basically the 4 working groups. They're looking into the spectrum side requirement, and also they're looking into the infrastructure and regulatory aspect and the business case. These are working groups that look into those, and then they will And this the members of this working group are all from the government agency, from the telco, from the industry vendors. They are looking together based on what happening worldwide. They come up with the report, quarterly report to the government. And beside that, there is also a test bed committee been set up to give an example of the showcase of the 5G. So recently we have in April last year, it's been initiated by our Prime Minister in Putrajaya, where we have at that time all vendors, telcos, and also the government agency participate just to demonstrate what the 5G can do. Beside what you're talking about broadband, like from there you can see there's autonomous car over there. We also have a healthcare, the remote scanning, remote surgery, and all those, just to showcase that what 5G is possible, and what it also can benefit other peoples. But I think by this year also, sometime in October, they are looking to extend further this POC of this usage of 5G to other areas, just to see the real application. For example, when in the April you're focusing on the one location, but now we are looking into the real application of a 5G, where this involve maybe telcos as well. How this is preparation for the 5G to be launched later. So that is to prepare Malaysia to be.
I assume needs a lot of regulations also, and you mentioned also the infrastructure.
That's right.
So in Putrajaya, you said it was this POC or this pilot running. So was there like dedicated 5G antennas built in Putrajaya for that?
In Putrajaya, just to showcase example, we are doing indoors and some small part of the outdoor. Like they have an autonomous car over there, and inside there we have some sort of like the healthcare, remote healthcare surgery, some of the what we call things that possible. There is just to make people understand that this is what 5G is possible. Not only talking about the speed only, but you're talking about verticals now, other industry involved, even agriculture, because you're looking into the agriculture part of this, how it can. But when we are this task force, they are looking into the next level where what is the real implementation in a given area, to see what is the 5G can do, to experience, to get it, to create some sort of business case, and to see what are the people can benefit from there. Before the government, this is just a test showcase that possible before the real implementation, before licensing given to the telcos to operate that 5G.
I understand. And I saw like the ministries, even the Prime Minister, very interested in that. I saw you were at one of the, that was an exhibition, I think it was called UTM Ericsson Innovation Center.
That's during the exhibition, that showcase time. We have different booths. Why we are there also, because in our university, our research focus, one of these is 5G, and then we are talking about the spectrum. We are explaining about, for 5G you need to have new spectrum. I mean the existing one, because 5G will cover lower band, mid band, and even higher band. Most 2G, 3G, 4G are all between lower and mid band. So then the spectrum is very important to be able to be get that, and then it's like that.
So I coming back to that, I saw there was a lot of attention. I saw the picture you're showing and demonstrating a lot of ministers. The Prime Minister was there also, just besides you. Maybe you can give some comments on that, like what was the Prime Minister's idea or his expectations, or like how tech savvy he was, or how interested he was in that.
So during the explanation, I think he's quite interested, and that's to know that one thing is to know that we need a spectrum, because spectrum of course belong to the government, have to be regulate, and then open the opportunity to see where the spectrum require, because one important thing there related to spectrum, because some part of the spectrum used in 5G should be coexist with other like satellite, no,
Yeah,
TV and so on. There has to be some coordination, some coexistence in between that. So that it has to be looked into a little bit more because of that. And even for it also covered the higher band. That's why there will be many base stations and so on. Yeah, that's right. So that is the thing. And then because this is important because it's opened opportunity for verticals, for new business case where in that exhibition it shows also some of the use cases like agriculture. We have this telemedicine and autonomous car, which is possible. Where those things is not possible with 4G. So it opens more opportunity. It involves many ministry. Not only talking about the Ministry of Communication, but other ministry, agriculture, auto, manufacturing, and all those things will get involved in that as well.
Okay, that's great. And I think especially also in agriculture can open a lot of opportunities for remote sites.
In remote site, for example, you can use drone to monitor, to get.
I understand. Okay, that's very interesting. Okay, that was great to see. I think we talked about the business opportunities. I just before also had a question like when it comes to infrastructure. I see in some countries now it's already a controversy for the 5G antennas, and I know that is like what your PhD is about. Maybe you can give the audience a little bit an idea on this or your idea and why we should not worry too much about this new antennas coming.
Okay, this you can see that when it comes 5G, you're looking into it's just similar to 2G, 3G, and 4G in terms of the frequency at the lower band. But the only difference that 5G have, they are using on a higher band. One of the band which cover the spectrum where you need to have more base stations surrounding because the cell will be smaller. And we even talking about the cell in the millimeter wave, we have a smaller cell and so on. So they are talking about, like we say, everything is connected. Everything will be. Then the issue of the EMF radiation, people worry about. Some says that they will be dangerous for the radiation. But basically, this is part of radio frequency. Radio frequency in the EMF spectrum is the lower band. Even we are talking about it doesn't have enough energy to cause anything ionization to happen, for example, because it categorized under non-ionizing. Even if we can see the visible light, sunlight, even higher, much higher. So it can cause something that even this is a radio frequency. It doesn't have enough energy that can cause some ionization to happen. And then the level is also lower. So I think we have studied so that so far about 30 years of research been done in many parts of the world, and also they cannot find the connection between that. So I think it basically is no issue of this the effect of the health. Okay. Because if what worry is the not ionizing part, where ionizing means that when you expose the energy is enough to cause the chemical bonding changes to be happen. That's why cancer can come and so on. So this 5G basically, even we have so many, even you are talking about small cell close to you, the power is lower. Because the power, even the low, we have done the research in our university to measure radiation from the base station. Besides, it's non-ionizing. It just cause thermal effects only. The level is quite low, less than 5% from the minimum set by the international standard for UNIP. So that is the. So basically, it's not an issue at the moment when we are talking about the effect of the.
That's good to hear. I'm happy to hear that from an expert, because there's a lot of talking around, and you never know. Of course, you always see the two sides. Thank you very much for explaining that. I would like to come to the final questions, and because you're a professor in the university lecturing, what is your recommendation that you give to the students in connection with 5G, like in what they should look out, what they should learn, in what direction they should go?
It is 5G basically is open for the student, even open more opportunity for them to do research, to study and so on. And as I mentioned that in 5G, even in the frequency side, they're using the higher band, which means that the effect of weather, the air or rain and so on will have some effect. So it's good for the research to be done, basically to overcome what you call the local issues. And then of course future we'll see, because we're talking now 5G. 5G you're talking about evolution and revolution, and this generation happened every 10 years. First generation in 1980s, second in 1990s, and then third generation in year 2000, fourth 2010, and fifth will be to 2020. But the next generation will be maybe another 10 years,
already
2020, enhance further what the 5G have, the latest and all those things. We do think will be so a lot of opportunity for them. Usually they can start doing the research from now for the 6G, because that will be the before the International Commercial Union said what is the vision, the requirement next for the next generation.
I saw. I think the Chinese already working on the 6G. Already,
they start looking into
research
that.
And
so really the process that, but maybe 2-3 years from now they will set what is the requirement vision for the next 6G, where from there, and the research is starting from now into a possibility, because 5G mainly the research on 5G have been done back about 5-10 years back before when they want to. Now we are looking to the future. Where this is where the university have to look into what will be the future research.
Now is the time to build use cases, right?
For the next generation.
Okay, very good. Very interesting. That was really exciting. Thank you very much, Professor Tharek, for sharing your really valuable insights and your experience. Greatly appreciate that. Thanks so much. And thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it too. Please stay on our channels, subscribe, and then we see you next week for another talk. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.